Today what I'm going to be talking about is compounding your stakes when either you're Betfair trading, extra place matching, anything you look to do either relating to match betting or to Betfair trading. You can compound your stakes and your trades and your bets and everything along them lines. Now why you'd want to do this? There's quite a lot of good reasons behind it. First of all, whenever you're investing money, you always look for any sort of investments where you're going to get the compound interest on it, not just standard interest. You want the compound interest on that so that you can keep multiplying your growth at a bigger extreme. Now, an example of when this has been used really effectively in the past with Betfair trading is through the Marina lane system. Now, if we just look over here, this was the Maria lane system. I think I called it the Marina lane system there before. The Maria lane system. This was essentially, if it's something you've never heard of before, it was a woman who was back in the 2000s who had a £3,000 bankroll and she turned it into £100,000 in less than a year. And the way she did this was through her complex system of laying horses on races. You can see here she used prices below 3.5, she'd only lay 1% of her bankroll. Between 3.5 and 7.4, she'd lay 0.6% of her bankroll. Between 7.5 and 11.0, these are the laying odds, she'd lay 0.6% of her bankroll. And then she'd never do it if it was over greater than 11 odds at the lay. Now the reason she did this, or should I say the reason this compounds, is because you're looking to set your stakes to be a proportion of your bankroll, which is realistically how everyone should do Betfair trading. If you stick at £10 stakes, you're going to have the same return and the same potential loss with every trade. Whereas if you're doing a mixed liability like this and doing it as a proportion of your bankroll depending on the odds, it's really going to help reduce a lot more risk and keep your bankroll a lot safer. And then whenever you're actually making profit as well, you're really starting to compound that profit and really grow a lot quicker than what you would have before. Now I've got some examples of this. I'm going to showcase you me doing this exact system but on a laying the draw strategy. So we're going to be laying the draw just as a set and forget, not as a trading out or anything along those lines. We're just going to do a set and forget laying the draw strategy. I'm going to showcase you the exact same trades if you just did it with a flat £10 stake as opposed to a same trades yet again but with a compound or a proportional bankroll stake to what was suggested in the Maria lane system. So hopefully that's worth looking into. And then we're also going to do a similar thing with the extra places that we used a few months back. Now there's going to be a few caveats to this and a few drawbacks that I will talk about as I go on, but hopefully this is still going to be something useful. I'm not totally advanced with how to compound my stakes and how to use proportions of my bankroll, so if you've got any videos you'd recommend I give a look at, any guides I should read, or just any tips yourself, please do let me know down in the comments. And if you give some good tips, I'll give them a pin at the top as well so any newbies can read the comments and see that as they go. So I'm going to start with the laying the draw mentality over here. Now before I get started, if you can see beads of sweat on my forehead or you think there's a lot more pauses in this video, it's because I'm getting a drink, because it's absolutely roasting outside. I've got my window and my blinds shut so that light doesn't come in so it doesn't interrupt the video, and I feel like I'm going to pass out. I've said that for the last few weeks because I'm recording this all in one little section, because as you guys will know if you watch the earnings video, I start my full-time job soon, so I wanted to get a bit ahead of myself when it came to videos. So I did a lot of prep beforehand and I set aside tonight to do all the recording. So if it looks like I'm going to pass out, or you see the time jump at the bottom for about an hour and a half or something like that, I probably did pass out. So I'd really appreciate a like and a subscribe just so I know it was worth passing out for. But let's get into this. So this was the laying the draw system that I used. I won't lie, I didn't do too much research behind each game. I didn't look too much into it. I didn't use a really in-depth laying the draw strategy. This was mainly just to explore the difference between normal stakes and using proportion of your bank balance as a stake as well, just so we could get a little bit of a difference. So here I want you guys to ignore the strategy that's being used, ignore the success rate, ignore everything like that. I just wanted to get a good mix of results of losing trades, winning trades, to be able to see which strategy maybe looks better when it comes to what to do with your bankroll. So as you can see here, I did this as if you were starting off with £1,000 in your bank. We're then going to use on this side over here, just flat £10 stakes for our laying the draw, whereas opposed to over here, we were using the stakes that were proportionate to what was suggested in the Maria lay staking plan. So you can see again here, prices below 3.5, 1%, 3.5 to 7.4, 0.6% of the bank, 7.5 to 11, 0.4%, and then we didn't do anything over 11 odds. So just looking at this here, instantly you can see one little drawback here. When the stakes you'd normally use, so if I'd normally use the £10 stake over here, when they're higher than what is over here, you're going to make more on a winning trade. So for example, with this match here, if we just used a £10 stake, we would have made £9.80 profit, whereas over here we would have only made £5.88. So there is going to be instances where you don't make as much, but that is accepted within this because you're also risking less and evaluating your risk a bit more professionally. So yes, you may not win as much from time to time, but you're going to be grateful of this system whenever a loss occurs. So if we just take a look at this, you can see the first 4 trades won, and we'd be £39.20 up on just the flat £10, but over on the compound stakes we'd be £31.73. So it's not a huge difference, but you can see there is a little difference there. But you can also see in these instances over here, we were actually putting more on in some cases. So for this trade, because of the layouts that were available, we were actually using a stake of £10.16, whereas over here we're using a stake of £10. So in some cases, you're going to earn more on the compound stakes and the percentages rather than on the flat one. It's going to even out in the long run, in my opinion. If you've got a different opinion, let me know down below, but it does seem to even out roughly. And as I'll explain a bit more at the end, I do firmly believe now that compounding your stakes and using a percentage of your bankroll instead of just a flat stake is definitely the way to go when it goes to trading. But as you can see here, when it came to a loss, we were at 3.5 odds, which meant we laid 1% of the bank. So in this instance here, we were actually putting more of a stake up on the compound side. So we made a bigger loss, but that loss was evaluated through the layouts that were available. So that was a risk that we calculated and we took, and unfortunately in this case here we lost out on. So after the first losing trade, we were £14.20 up on the £10 stakes, but on the compound stakes we were only £5.93 up. And as you can see, it took a lot longer to build that balance back up. We got 8 winning trades in a row there. By the end of it, on the £10 stakes, we were up to £92 profit. On the compound stakes, we were only at £58.18 profit. So it is taking a lot longer there to build that balance back up after a loss. But as you'll see towards the end of this, when we start to hit some big losing periods, which you're going to do with any strategy, you can do as much research as you want and be a careful trader, but you are going to have some periods where you hit a few losses in a row. And that right there is where the compounding the stakes and using the proportion of your bank balance really comes in handy. Because as you can see, at the end of the 3 losing trades, despite going into the loss with more of a profit to start with, so we started off with £81 over here and only 54 over here, we still left better off in the compound trades because of the stakes we were using, because of the readjusted liability and readjusted forward thinking of how this was going to work out with the proportion of our stake. So you can see after these 3 losing trades, we would have been at a loss of £36.80 over on the £10 flat stakes, but over on the compounds, we'd only be at a loss of £11.46. Then after the 3 trades following that, where they're all over in a profit, we still hadn't got back into a profit on the £10 flat stakes. So at the end of these 22 trades, if we just used £10 stakes, we would be minus £7.40. Whereas if we'd have been using the Maria Lane system as a way to guide our bank balance, and then using that to get what stakes we use from our bank balance, you can see at the end of it we will be in a profit of £10.08. Now from this you can see the rough laying the draw calculations I was using for this. They're not a very good system. It's one I obviously wouldn't recommend you do. But you can see that even though it was a poor system, we still had a better return using our proportional bank balance stakes than what we did from using our flat stakes. So hopefully if you're someone who's never thought about doing this before, this has kind of pushed your mind in that direction. So this is the example showing you that just through Betfair trading. Now we're going to get into it with extra places. So this graph's going to look familiar if you watch the extra places videos we've done before. This was when I just used the 95% plus extra places recommended from OddsMonkey for a month. And you can see we've got 79 examples of this here, and you can see how much profit and loss we would have made. I'm just going to hide this section over here for now, so you can't see what the difference is. But when we were just using a flat £10 each way stake for these, we were getting a return in the end of £189.55 profit, which is a really nice return. Now, before I fully get into how much we would have made if we compounded our stakes with this, I do want to say some little bits of information here. I wouldn't fully recommend just compounding your stakes when it comes to extra places, because then you're going to be doing extra place trades where you're putting in an extra place bet of, say, like £8.99 instead of £10. It's going to flag you up a lot quicker and you're going to get gubbed. So even when you're compounding your stakes with this, look to keep them rounded, so that you don't get caught out and gubbed quicker than what you would normally. It's also going to mean bigger profits, which will also probably lead to quicker gubbing, so that's something to keep in mind as well. And then finally, obviously, as you compound your stakes, you're going to need more liability to be able to lay on the exchanges, and there's going to need to be more liquidity in the markets. So I don't know if this will have been possible, because when I was keeping track of all these results from the extra places and keeping track of the liability and the liquidity in the markets and everything along them lines, I was only using that for £10 stakes. So this may not be fully accurate. On one hand it could be, but it probably isn't. But hopefully this here is still going to be a good example of how you can compound your stakes and compound your bankroll and everything along them lines. So let me just showcase that to you here. So just what I'm pointing out here is, as you can see, the stake here starts off with that £10 each way. If you were placing this stake here of £15.83, instantly that's going to get flagged up on some betting companies. So in this instance, I'd maybe recommend just placing the stake of £15, and then when it gets further down and you've got to £22.10, maybe just a stake of 20. Just keep it rounded to maybe fives to really help avoid getting gubbed. And then again, if we get lower down when we're using stakes of £46.03, the liability that would be required for an each way trade of that is going to be huge, and that would mean there needs to be huge liquidity on the market as well. So ones further down like that might not be possible, but as soon as you kind of realise where it's happened, you can maybe start to cap yourself out at a stake, or you could only use big horse racing events where the liquidity and liability are there available. So although I've just shown that a little bit there, you can kind of see where this is going. The first trade wasn't profitable, so we lost that 17 pence. The second one, as you can see, was. So we got that £65.39 profit. We're currently at the same point here as where we were without compounding. But this is when it starts to get good, because then we're still using this 10% of our bankroll as our each way stake. So you can see, we're now at 165, and then we're losing a little bit more. We're losing £1.54 now instead of 93 pence. But this becomes really, really positive when we start to hit some winning trades. Because even though it takes so long down here, you can see that instead of winning the £25.58, we would now be winning £39.03. And then down here, instead of winning £25.19, we would be winning £46.50. And you can see, as it goes on, how much more value you can accumulate through having it constantly compound and using the percentage of your bankroll instead of just the flat fee. So you can see here at the end, instead of leaving off with that £189 profit, if we'd have compounded our stakes and used 10% of our bank balance and kept reinvesting as we went, we would have actually ended up with £348.72. So going from £189 worth of profit to £348 is obviously a huge improvement. Again, this one needs to be taken with a pinch of salt for the reasons I said before, but you can really see there how valuable it can be to use your compound stakes and to always use your bankroll instead of just saying, oh, I'm going with £10 here. Get a plan set in mind of how you want to split your trades and your bets and everything along them lines, and really try and stick to that. Again, if you've got any recommendations, if you've been doing this longer than I have, and you've got a way that you split your bankroll, I'd love to hear it down below in the comments. Let me know, I'm all ears. But again, thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I'll see you next time.